All right, guys. Welcome to the channel. Let's get into the latest in the news.
What do you feel about the House Speaker?
Before the last couple of weeks, I was, in his corner, but now, we should consider what's the best path forward. But we do need to consider whether, if we're going to advance Mr. Trump's agenda, whether the current leadership is what we need.
House Freedom Caucus Chairman Andy Harris on Fox Business Live yesterday suggesting Republicans need to replace House Speaker Mike Johnson. Congress will hold its speakership vote 1 week from today. Johnson can only afford to lose one Republican vote to keep his job as he faces more GOP resistance within the chamber. Kentucky Congressman Thomas Massie already vowing not to support Johnson, while Indiana Congresswoman Victoria Sparks says she has not decided whether or not she'll vote for him. Pennsylvania Congressman Scott Perry telling me just in the last hour where he stands on Speaker Johnson's leadership. Watch this.
Wow, it just seems like that a lot of people are undecided on this guy. They want to talk about sounding mainly like, Trump doesn't want him to be as the House Speaker. We're talking about Mike Johnson. He's got to do with government funding, and it seems like there's some other people that are undecided on this as well. So it looks like it's something that needs to be looked into.
Do you support Speaker Johnson or not?
I think that Mike has done an admirable job under tough conditions, but I'm going to keep my options open. I want to have a conversation with Mike. I don't know where this is going right now, but with Thomas Massie already saying he's a hard no, people like Victoria Sparks saying that they're likely a no, that's concerning, and we just got to make sure that we get the best person for the job under the circumstances.
Joining me now is New York Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis.
See, that's what's important. That's what we're talking about right there. Getting the job done. We got to get people in there to get the job done. Trump's going to be in there for his 4-year term, but like most people would say, he's got about 2 years to really get stuff done. So we really need somebody in there that can, do the job.
Member of the House Ways and Means Committee and the Republican Conference Assistant Whip. And Congresswoman, I want to get your reaction to what we're seeing as this razor-thin vote is a week from today.
Well, I, like so many others that you've been speaking with, also have questions and concerns. And I think that this week should be an opportunity for us to raise those concerns with Speaker Johnson. I think that nobody at the end of the day wants to have a leadership fight. I don't see value in that. But if we're going to be
not at all
in the next Congress and we are going to deliver on President Trump's agenda, there needs to be some changes. And I think it would, just like our constituencies right before Election Day, we go to them and we answer their questions and concerns and we tell them what our plan is for the next 2 years. The Speaker, I think, should be doing the same thing right now and hearing out what our ideas are and how we can do things better to make sure that we're successful and that we're going to be more united than ever.
Okay, so give me your position then. What is it that you want to hear from him? What are your questions? What are your concerns?
Yeah, what do you want to hear from him?
I think last week just raised a lot of concerns about how we're going to do things. Are we going to work within our conference to get the solution, or are we automatically going to run to the Democrats to get votes? And I think that is a real concern that a lot of members across the spectrum have. I think in general there needs to be a better communication between the leadership and the membership. We should not see our Speaker shaking hands on a deal without first coming to the conference and getting buy-in, making sure that we're building consensus. So I think that's for me, that's a huge one. But I think the other thing is, we have legislative priorities that we can get done throughout the year. You shouldn't see members jockeying at the end of the year to try to get their legislative items in a massive package. What will the leadership do to help us get these bills that don't cost money, that are not contentious or have controversy across the finish line throughout the year, and so we can deliver legislative wins at home? I think that's another thing that I would like to see. But overall, I think that you're right, and what the members that you've spoken with are right. But at the same time, we need to be in a position to make sure that we deliver on President Trump's agenda, or else we're going to find ourselves in this very situation 100 days from now. And so that's why we have to have these conversations today.
Well, that's, Congressman Zicki.
Oh, yes, I agree. That is why we have to have these conversations now. That is for sure. Let's do it now before it goes any farther. Let's get the people in there we need and take care of the situation. Absolutely, 100%. All right, here, guys, moving on to the next little bit here.
According to new polling, only 39% of Americans approve of how Joe Biden is handling his presidency. I want to know who the 39% are. 20% believe the government is the biggest problem facing the country today. Behind that is immigration and the economy. John Levine joins me now. John, the question here is, what's the problem with our government? And my answer to that would be, where do I begin? But what say you?
Amen.
That's a very, very big question. I don't know if we have time for it here today. But look, these are not new numbers for Joe Biden. It may be a new poll, but we've been here before. He hasn't had an approval rating above 50% since, I believe, July 2021. So really, you know, this is more of the same. I mean, who even knows if he's aware of the latest polling, to be frank. He's going out with a whisper.
Yeah.
And I think he'll obviously not be remembered as a poor president, but I think really he might not be remembered very much at all. It's just going to go out with a whisper, much like the man himself.
You know what, we spoke to someone earlier who said there's quite a civil war going on within the Democrat Party as to where do they go from here? Who's our leader? I mean, they are in disarray, I would say.
Yeah, I mean,
There is no leader right now.
Major collapse is what we just experienced. There's going to be soul searching. There's going to be an autopsy. And look, there's going to be different wings of the party and factions that fight for sort of the narrative. What was the lesson we're supposed to learn? Do we go in a more AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib direction? You know, do we embrace, you know, Hamas and the Palestinians? These are all questions the Democrats are going to have to work out. And someone's going to, you know, win in these fights. So it is very, very important.
Yeah, that's Joe Biden hasn't had a poll rating of above 50% since July of 2021. I mean, come on, man, that's not far after election. He hasn't really done well at all in his administration. Has not done anything for the people of America. That is for sure. All they've been doing is trying to tear us down and put in place things that just ruin the country.
It is indeed. But I want to move on to other subjects. New York Governor Kathy Hochul, I know this is one of your favorite, put the brakes on an MTA plan to basically hike the price of Manhattan's congestion toll by 25%. Look, we saw this happen with the original congestion pricing plan. What's the chances of her sneaking this hike back in at a later date?
I mean, it's high. I mean, obviously, we passed congestion pricing. She was going to do it, and then she put it on hold indefinitely during the midterm elections because she wanted to protect vulnerable Democrats in Westchester and Long Island. After the elections are over, congestion pricing's back on the table. So this is probably just another bait and switch. And part of the problem is it's very fundamental to the Democratic Party in New York to expand government into all reaches of life. And that costs money. And the only way you get it is by taxing people more. Now, they can't really just outright raise income taxes on New Yorkers anymore because it's too crazy. But what they do is they find these other ways to get you. So congestion pricing, or they'll tax alcohol, or maybe they'll tax you for walking on the wrong side of the street. You know, I don't know what the next one will be, but they always find these secondary ways to get you. But look, the census data is very clear. In the last census, we lost one member of Congress. I don't know what the next census will show, but it'll probably.
All right, just for some of the people that may not know what congestion pricing, when they're talking about their congestion pricing, congestion charges is a system of surcharging users of public goods that are subject to congestion through excess demand, such as through higher peak charges for use of bus services, electricity, metros, railways, telephones, road pricing to reduce traffic congestion, airlines, and shipping, guys.
Be similarly brutal. People are leaving this state. And it's because the cost of living here is too high. And what do you really get for the services? All the subways smell like piss.
Yeah.
I know. I've always wondered, having lived there for quite some time, paying all those taxes, the roads are terrible, the potholes just, you know, are outrageous. You always wonder, where the heck does all this money go?
Right. You'd think, oh, all this money, it must be like a Singapore-style, you know, corporate municipal Disneyland. No, it's not. It's terrible. You know, there's migrants running around, sleeping on the street, potholes, as you said. The police do nothing. It's not a good situation at all.
It's insanity. John Levine. John, you have a great broadcasting voice, by the way.
Oh wow, there you go, man. I mean, see how bad things are. People, which that's always been the case, and people will argue. They're going to argue about this either way we go. That one side wants it their, the other side wants it their way. And I'm not saying that left or right, either one is 100% right, but it's very obvious that I just don't understand how anybody thinks that way, and maybe that's just me and I'm just crazy.
California Governor Gavin Newsom is looking to become the new face of Democratic resistance to President-elect Trump's second term. He's calling for another special session to Trump-proof California's policies, asking for $25 million to fund anticipated legal battles against the administration. Critics are saying this isn't about protecting California, but about Newsom's own political ambitions,
I'm sure
teeing up a presidential run in 2028. Sacramento-based Democratic strategist Stephen Mavilio telling the Hill, quote, he's been running for president for 2 years. Joining me now, California Republican Chairwoman Jessica Malone Patterson. And Jessica, let's talk about this, because Gavin Newsom is trying to push forward these policies for a California electorate that made it very clear in November that it's moving to the right.
Mm-hmm.
We sure did. And not only did President Trump have this decisive win across the country and in every single battleground state, but right here in deep blue California, he shifted every single congressional district, every single legislative district here in California, and even fully flipped to the Trump presidency several key counties around our state. What's happening with Governor Newsom is, is incredible tone deaf to what is going on in what Californians are living every day.
We have a couple of maps, and I want to show you and our viewers this. It really illustrates the story of California and how much it has changed in the last 4 years. And these are the counties that you just mentioned, and the shift from blue to red between 2020 and 2024. It is astonishing if you look at this. President Trump...
Wow, I just want to look at that for a minute right there, because I had wondered about that. I had was looking when this election, looking at Democratic states versus the Republican states, and I was a little surprised myself when I looked at it that California had so much red in it. That's, man, wow, that is crazy. That's a big change, guys. That's a big, big change.
Performed better in 78% of California counties than he did in 2020. At the same time, Harris underperformed Joe Biden's 2020 results in 57 of 58 counties.
Wow.
What I find astonishing about this, Jessica,
yeah, she did terrible.
Was a California senator. She was an attorney general in California.
And they knew her crap.
Happened.
It's the ultimate rejection of what California Democrats have championed. We've seen the issues that are most important, not just to Americans, but to Californians. California Democrats have failed them on. When we look at the economy, when less than 15% of Californians can afford the median home price, that is a problem. This past year, we had Proposition 36 on the ballot. This was going back and fixing a championed Democrat policy of decriminalizing crime here in California. Every single county in our state voted in favor of Proposition 36 to fix the Democrats' mistake. You combine that with what we have seen on the spending side and what Governor Newsom is trying to do with his new policies to Trump-proof California. We spent $24 billion on our homeless crisis, and we don't know where any of that money went. On high-speed rail, we spent over $100 billion more than what was approved by California voters in 2008.
Wow, this is what we talk about, money. Why just so much money being blown for crazy, stupid things that people don't even know where it goes. And we got homeless people in the streets and stuff like that. That's what, and veterans that are homeless, and I think that's what really bothers the American people the most. You don't have to be political. You don't have to know everything about government. You don't have to, went to college. You don't have to have degrees to know that the spending that our government does is absolutely ridiculous, and I'm sure a lot of that money goes in their own pockets, 100%.
Went from a nearly $100 billion surplus a couple years ago to a $68 billion deficit here in California. And California Democrats like Kamala Harris, like Gavin Newsom have championed all of these policies that Californians are saying we are not doing it right.
You know what, Jessica, I lived and worked for 7 years in San Francisco when Gavin Newsom was mayor, and I interviewed him, and I've met him here in New York as well. And I'm just so surprised by the tone deafness of these moves by him, in particular when you look at how the George Gascon, Los Angeles, DA, gone. Alameda, Oakland, California, Alameda County, the DA, the mayor in Oakland, gone. London Breed, the mayor of San Francisco, gone. All of these people voted out in November, and still these policies. I just had to throw that in because it just shocks me. I want to bring in Joe Pinion into this conversation.
Wow. Chairwoman, obviously always good to have you here. I mean, I think you highlight all the things that most of us around the country see, and yet at the same time, we saw President Trump carry all 7 swing states, and yet we're looking at the slimmest House majority since World War II. We see some of that in California, President Trump improving by 78% in the state, and yet at the same time, not being able to carry some of those 3 seats that we lost. So talk to us a little bit about the work you see ahead in California to take some of those Trump voters and turn them into Republican voters and rebuilding that coalition there in California.
Well, I think the most important thing that we've seen over the last 5 years, and we had picked up 5 seats in the last 2 cycles, but these are incredibly close seats. Seats that we won by 300 votes, seats that we won by 500 votes, and this time around lost by less than 200 votes, lost by less than 600 votes. So we're seeing these seats that move back and forward, but these are incredibly Democrat-heavy districts, and at the same time, we picked up legislative seats. We want a legislative seat here in California that is a Democrat registration advantage of 16 points. Another one that's a Democrat registration advantage of 14.5 points. What we see first is that they'll come with us on the ideas. In 2020, they were with us on the ideas or the statewide ballot initiatives 62% of the time. In 2022, it was 66% of the time. By 2024, California voters were with the California Republican Party's position 89% of the time. So they'll come with us on the ideas first, then they'll vote for our candidates, then you'll see the move in registration, which has been fantastic over the last several years. We have registered over 928,000 new Republicans since I became chair in 2019, and we're continuing that movement across our state.
Well, and on a national basis, Jessica, that is what really helped propel Donald Trump, among many other factors, to win in November, was the fact that they were able to register so many new Republicans.
New Republican voters.
Switch people out of the Democrats or independents into the GOP. Before you go, really quick, immigration. Newsom is also reportedly considering this plan that would shield illegal immigrants from President-elect Trump's deportation efforts. Politico got this draft memo. It's called Immigrant Support Network Concept. They're proposing regional hubs. You connect at-risk individuals, families, communities with systems like legal services, school, labor unions, local governments. I spoke with North Carolina Congressman Greg Murphy about this yesterday. Watch what he told me.
Newsom has created his own little deficit spending debacle of a state. I believe there's $68 billion in debt now. And what he wants to do is basically break the law. We saw this a long time ago when states didn't want to integrate.
Did he say break the law? He basically wants to break the law? Do you reckon?
And they didn't, but they wanted to continue with segregation. These are laws, these are national laws. He doesn't get to pick and choose which one he gets. Yeah, no, we're not going to send in the National Guard, but you know what? They get a lot of federal money. And if they want to have their state dry up even quicker because of his nasty policies, I don't think he lasts long. And this time when the recount comes, he's gone.
Jessica, what do you make of that?
Well, I think that there's going to be a lot of legal battles on this, and he is absolutely right in the way we're watching spending here in California, whether it's the $24 billion that's unaccounted for on the homeless crisis, $36 billion that was spent on EDD fraud, on unemployment fraud here in California, the $100 billion we've spent over budget on high-speed rail. Californians are looking for transparency. They want accountability in their government.
They
we're
should.
not seeing that from Gavin Newsom's plans.
Yeah, it's pretty surprising. Before you go, the mayor of Mendota, California, this is Victor Martinez. He switched parties from Democrat to Republican just last week. He says Sacramento policies and the Democrats are not giving families in his city a shot at any American dream. He has been mayor since 2022, but he said it's time for ballot communities like Mendota to get the opportunity and rural representation that they deserve. You wrote an op-ed about Republicans making a comeback in your state. Tell us more.
Well, this is something that we're clearly seeing here in California. I have said for a long time that the road back to sanity in California is through the Latino community, and we are seeing that. When we look at the Central Valley numbers, we see this movement of Latinos that are becoming Republicans. We had Senator Maria Alvarado-Gil, who switched from the supermajority Democrat Party to Republican. We saw our former Senate Majority Leader, Gloria Romero, become a Republican. This is happening all over our state, and it is because California Democrats may have shown up in my community and the communities around our state, but what they haven't done is made our lives better. And we're waking up to it. That's why we're seeing so many Latinos that are moving over.
Jessica thank you so much for your time. Please come back.
Exactly. They're not delivering. They talking a big talk, and they are not delivering. That is exactly how the Democrats have played it out for many, many, many years. Guys, that's your local news, all in a wrap. I hope you enjoyed the show today, and if you have, make sure you give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next one.